Poor Chloe all alone now, isn't she? My stomach dropped. Belle's baby shower, awash in pastel pink, felt like a staged play. Sunlight streamed through the Austin window, illuminating the pitying glances. Logan was gone, 7 months. Belle, always the golden child, now held court. Even Mom squeezed my hand tighter, a silent be strong. He left me everything. House paid, condo downtown. Over 400K. I quietly funded their retirement shortfall, a secret power. They saw a widow, they saw weak. Then Belle dropped the bomb. Logan's the father, pictures flashed. My world shattered. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. Ever feel invisible, like your worth is constantly overlooked? Hit subscribe because this story, it's about to flip the script, and trust me, you won't want to miss how satisfying it gets. 1992, Belle's 16th birthday. Dad presented her with a cherry red convertible, a symbol of her newfound freedom. I got a set of encyclopedias. The car gleamed under the Texas sun, the encyclopedias sat heavy on my lap, smelling faintly of dust. Belle needs this, Mom had explained, for her social life. My academic achievements were immaterial. 2008, Belle's wedding day. The venue, a sprawling vineyard, overflowed with roses and champagne. I watched from the sidelines, nursing a lukewarm glass of sparkling cider. My master's degree, earned with relentless dedication, garnered polite nods. Such a smart girl, Aunt Carol chirped before turning back to admire Belle's dress. I smiled, I always smiled. The final straw came last Christmas. Belle, struggling with fertility treatments, tearfully recounted her woes. It's just not fair, she sobbed, clutching Mom's hand. My recent promotion to marketing executive was met with a perfunctory, "That's nice, dear." Belle's pain overshadowed everything. That's how it always was. Now, however, a dam had broken. The photos, Logan's name twisted into a lie. It was the culmination of years of silent dismissal. Something hardened inside me. They would pay. That night, sleep evaded me. The scent of Belle's lavender lotion lingered, a mocking reminder of the day's events. My mind raced, formulating plans, strategies. The weight of their deception pressed down, a suffocating blanket. But beneath it, a flicker of determination ignited. No more silence. No more smiles. No more playing the victim. First, the condo. It wasn't just a property, it was a power base. I transformed it into a marketing powerhouse, leveraging Logan's investments to launch a discreet consultancy. My clients. Tech startups hungry for market share, willing to pay top dollar for strategic brilliance. I built a team, handpicked for their talent and loyalty, a family of my own making. A year passed. Revenue soared. My name, whispered in industry circles, remained unknown to my family. Belle, still clinging to her narrative, struggled with mounting debt. Mom and Dad, oblivious to my success, continued to offer helpful advice, unaware that I was indirectly funding their lifestyle. The irony was exquisite. Then came the milestone, securing a contract with a Fortune 500 company. The deal was a game changer, catapulting my consultancy into the stratosphere. I celebrated with my team, champagne flowing, laughter echoing. It was a victory not just for the business, but for me. A testament to my resilience, my strategic mind, my refusal to be defined by their expectations. One evening, at a strained family dinner, Dad lamented the rising cost of living. "It's just so hard these days," he sighed. I subtly slipped him a check, a generous sum disguised as a little something to help out. His eyes widened. "Chloe, you shouldn't, you need to think of yourself." The hypocrisy was almost comical. Almost. Another hurdle, Belle threatened legal action demanding a DNA test to prove Logan's paternity. The tension was palpable. The air crackled with unspoken accusations. I held my ground, my voice calm, my eyes unwavering. "Bring it on, Belle," the reveal loomed. Would they discover the truth? Would they see the empire I had built from the ashes of their betrayal? The possibility hung in the air, a double-edged sword. Fear mingled with a perverse sense of anticipation. It was time for them to face the consequences of their actions. Their dismissal, their deceit, their complete and utter underestimation of Chloe. A curt email pinged. "Family Summit Thanksgiving, mandatory," Belle's signature. The digital summons vibrated with an arrogance I found almost comical. My pulse quickened, anticipation and dread warring within. This was it. The ranch felt different this year, heavier. Oak trees stood guard, their bare branches clawing at the gray sky. The air smelled of wood smoke and simmering resentment. Inside, the usual chaos reigned. Mom fussing over the turkey, Dad glued to Fox News, Belle radiating false innocence, cradling her bump. I used to find comfort in this cacophony, now it felt like a performance. I'd spent weeks preparing. Consulting with lawyers, securing evidence, strategically leaking information to select media outlets. The truth was a weapon, and I intended to wield it with precision. Chloe, so glad you could make it. Belle's saccharine tone grated. I smiled, a tight, practiced smile. Wouldn't miss it. During dinner, Dad raised his glass. To family and new beginnings. The clinking sounded hollow, the sentiment a lie. Belle squeezed my hand, her eyes wide and pleading. I met her gaze, a flicker of something cold passing between us. They had no idea what was coming. The charade was almost over. About that DNA test, Belle, I began, my voice steady, cutting through the forced cheer. A hush fell over the table. Forks clattered against plates. Funny you mention it. I paused, letting the silence thicken. Because I already had one done. Belle's smile faltered. Mom gasped, clutching her chest. Dad's face reddened. What are you talking about, Chloe? Belle's voice trembled, a stark contrast to its earlier confidence. I pulled out a sleek folder, placing it deliberately on the table. The results came back this morning. I opened it, revealing a crisp, official document. Logan isn't the father, but I know who is. A wave of whispers rippled through the room. Belle's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. Her eyes darted around, seeking support. None came. I continued, my voice resonating with a quiet strength I hadn't known I possessed. Turns out, your baby's daddy isn't some tragic love affair, it's David from your yoga class. I watched her face contort, surprise giving way to fury. The one you told everyone was just a friend. The room erupted. Mom shrieked, Dad slammed his fist on the table, and Belle launched herself at me. You bitch, she screamed, but I sidestepped her easily. The power had shifted, I was no longer the victim. My cousin Megan stepped forward, placing herself between Belle and me. Back off, Belle, she was a fierce ally, a welcome surprise. I watched, detached, as their world imploded. The lies, the secrets, the years of condescension, all laid bare. The sight was satisfying. And that loan application you submitted last month, denied, I added calmly. Turns out slander is bad for your credit score. Who knew? Dad sputtered. How did you? Let's just say, I interjected, a hint of amusement in my voice. I have connections now, powerful connections. The silence hung heavy. Then Mom, ever the pragmatist, spoke. Chloe dear, you know Belle didn't mean. I cut her off, raising a hand. Didn't mean to what, Mom? Discredit my late husband, lie about the paternity of her child, or just generally treat me like I'm invisible. Let her try to manipulate her way out of this. Dad chimed in, his voice strained. Chloe, this is a family matter. We need to handle this privately. We are handling it privately, Dad. At least, until Belle dragged Logan's name through the mud at a public baby shower. Remember that? I paused, letting the words sink in. You laughed then, you're not laughing now. Belle, regaining some composure, tried a different tactic. Chloe, please, think of the baby, this will ruin everything. Everything you've built on lies, you mean? My voice remained level. Don't let them see you sweat, they feed on it. And as for ruining things, Belle, you started that fire, I'm just providing the gasoline. Aunt Carol, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. Chloe, honey, couldn't you just forgive and forget? Family is everything. I fixed her with a stare. Forgive, maybe forget, never. My eyes swept across the room, taking in their stunned faces. Family is everything, you say. Funny, because I seem to recall being treated like an afterthought for most of my life. That ends now. My silence was a weapon. I turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. Oh, and Dad, about that little something I gave you last month, consider it a loan, interest accruing daily. Then I walked away, leaving them to grapple with the wreckage of their deception. The stunned silence stretched, punctuated only by Mom's ragged breathing. Belle looked as though she might faint. The air, thick with unspoken accusations, suddenly felt lighter somehow. It's not over. Not by a long shot. Chloe, Dad finally managed, his voice a strained rasp. You can't be serious about the loan. We're your parents. I turned back, a serene smile playing on my lips. And you're aware of my financial situation, correct? The helpless widow, remember. Surely you understand the importance of sound financial planning, especially with rising interest rates. Let the knife twist. Aunt Carol sputtered, but your family. I sighed dramatically. Aunt Carol, you wound me. Did you honestly believe I'd leave you all destitute? Of course not. I paused for effect. I'm simply restructuring things. You see, I've decided to purchase the ranch. A collective gasp filled the room. That's right. The ranch. The ranch was everything. It was Grandpa's legacy, the family's anchor, the symbol of their identity. The one thing they could never part with. You. You can't do that, Dad stammered, his face turning an alarming shade of purple. Oh, but I can, I said, my voice deceptively gentle. I already have. The paperwork was finalized this morning. Consider it a strategic acquisition. Belle's eyes widened in horror. Mom sank into a chair, her face buried in her hands. Even Megan looked surprised. I had kept this close to my chest. Now they understand what it means to truly lose. I understand the sentimental value, I continued, pressing my advantage. So I'm offering a leaseback agreement. Very generous terms, of course, as long as certain conditions are met. Conditions? Dad choked out, his voice barely a whisper. Indeed, I replied, my smile widening. Firstly, a public apology, to Logan's memory, to me, for the lies, the slander, and the general mistreatment. Secondly, Belle will be attending a mandatory parenting class. And thirdly, well, let's just say I'll be taking a more active role in the family business. As chairman, of course. The shock was palpable. Belle's mouth hung open, Dad looked like he might have a stroke, and Mom just kept shaking her head. The ranch, their legacy, their control. Now all mine. I surveyed the scene, a sense of quiet triumph washing over me. The power had shifted completely. I was no longer the victim, the afterthought, the helpless widow. I was the architect of their downfall, and it was glorious. Think it over, I said, turning to leave. I'll leave the lease agreement with Megan. She's always been the reasonable one. Oh, and happy Thanksgiving. Time blurred. Months passed before Mom tentatively called, voice trembling, requesting forgiveness. I offered a strained truce, requiring Belle's documented apology and proof of parenting classes. Dad followed, humbled. His ranch offer, though tempting, felt hollow. The core damage was irreparable. I set boundaries, prioritizing my peace over forced familial obligation. Physically, I thrived. My consultancy flourished, my condo buzzed with activity, and my wardrobe showcased confidence. Emotionally, the transformation was profound. The constant need for external validation dissolved, replaced by self-acceptance. Looking back, the years of silent resentment fueled my ambition. In the end, true wealth lies not in revenge, but in the freedom to define my own worth. I'm finally free. Feels good, right? Now, wouldn't you agree that standing up for your worth is a game changer? Share this story and go write your own damn success. It's sweeter than revenge.